I've been altering cards for about 100 hours at this point. If you're familiar with the theory that it takes 10,000 hours to become a master of something, that means I'm only 1% of the way there. But I thought it would be pretty cool to do a tour of all my alters that I've done so far. A lot of my cards have been uploaded to, YouTube or TikTok or Instagram, but there are some cards that have never been seen before in this binder here. So let's get into this tour of my altar binder. And I think I want to talk kind of about the process and also talk about, what I think of all my altars. As I continue, I'm constantly learning more. It isn't in any sort of order. Some of my older ones are in here, and I've even included a bunch of duds at the end. So I'm not super proud of those ones. I just thought it would be interesting because this is more of a video about the journey rather than the destination. I'm going to pull cards out and talk about them a little bit. This is my Una, Queen of the Fae altar. This was an interesting one. For a long time, I had a lot of difficulty matching that really kind of dark blue in the top right corner. I tried to take these bellflower kind of motifs from here and put them down here. And these are the stamen and a couple shadows of the stamens, right? So my shadows don't perfectly align with the shape of the stamens. But I was really trying to maximize the readability of that text is why that is occurring. I was going for kind of a lavender all around the sides and in the center here. And then, like I said, more of a bellflower in these corners here. That was my Una, Queen of the Fae. This next card is Dragon Wings. So basically, I was just inspired by everyone doing these like floating borders, right? But I think this one was fairly uninteresting just because it's a blue background on a blue card. So you've got just lots of blue. The background is so sparse, right? I really should have added more to it. But this was mostly an exercise of kind of like breaking the fourth wall with these tentacles over here and just trying the floating border. But we see like right here in the top right, the light blue background almost like blends into this little part of the border here. I think this was fairly uninteresting just because of all the blue on blue. But I did a good job matching the color of those dragon wings. If you do go back and watch the video I did of this, I completely botched the tentacles. I think I went from dark and then I tried to put light over top and it was a struggle. It turned out okay. I don't have a deck to play this in yet, but I think it was a good learning experience and kind of fun. Here I have Clay Revenant. I actually haven't uploaded this one to YouTube, my speed painting of it. This is like Haunt of the Dead Marshes in that it was just a lot of this blue, right? Anyone out there is painting or doing altars and they want to work on their values, find a card that's just a lot of blue. A lot of shades of blue like this because blue pigment is very strong. You only need like a couple layers and you'll be covering up the frames and everything. So if you work with blue pigment, you're going to see like very quick results with not a lot of paint. If you just want to work on your values, right? Your lights, your darks, your kind of like middle shades here. I think doing a card like Clay Revenant or Haunt of the Dead Marshes is so nice to do. I was happy with this kind of rope here. It looks like kind of like the neck of a robot or something, kind of like how this one has pauldrons and like big neck kind of armor. But it also kind of looks like an atom bomb or even like a propane cylinder. I liked my work on the rope, cable, whatever you would call it. I went a little too crazy with the green dots over here. My spacing was pretty good over here, but I don't know why I went so not so but so with the green dots on this side. Next up, I have this Fleshbag Marauder. Do people think I went too far with the skull on this one? I definitely could have reworked it and, got that blending of the shadow a bit smoother and then kind of like those ripples in the water. I could have made those look a lot better. I think in the moment, I was just in my head so much. I was like, oh no, I think I really ducked it with this one, right? I'm happy with the turnout of that lightning bolt kind of there. If you look really closely at the art, you can see like a little lightning bolt over here. That was from the the original art, and when I saw that, I was like, yeah, I should just put a big old lightning bolt in there, right? So I was happy with that. My kind of detail work on this skull pile over here, it's a little loosey-goosey, right? I'm always trying to get finer details. It's one thing that I think I need to improve on as an altarist. Whenever I do kind of this line through the separator between the creature type and the text box, I think it looks really good. It is a bit of a pain in the butt to do, but when you have like the shadow through here like this, that's really cool. At least I think so. Overall, the color matching, I was really proud of. I added in like this rock up here and this one up here, and I went a little bit more blue on my rocks I added. It mostly seems like brown and green, so that's a little bit of a little bit of a fumble, but it's still pretty cool. When I add a lot of original elements, since I'm so unpracticed in my art, it's been a long time since I just doodled and painted like outside of a magic card. I really need to work on it, but if I never try something like this, then I'm never going to improve. The Sanitarium Skeleton. Some of my cards in this binder are going to be protected with a varnish on it, a matte varnish. They all are in sleeves, of course, right? This is one of the ones that's in a matte varnish, and it really helped blend my extension into the original art. I was really impressed when I used that matte varnish. For this Sanitarium Skeleton, a lot of the earlier cards I was doing were all black cards. The black cards are so full of like shadows and you just fade the bottom into black. It looks really good, but it doesn't really hone your skills that much. So I was really looking for a black card in my Tormod Rogrock deck that I could alter that wouldn't just be fading to black here. So that's where I found the Sanitarium Skeleton. It's got these greens, it's got these yellows, right? My one thing with this one is, for example, right here, I didn't line up the like seam in the wall with the rest of it. Even with the original art, it seems like they're not all perfectly the same size, even the original, but I definitely could have done a little bit better. This green here is a little bit jarring. If this was like going to a commission, I would definitely be touching this up and fixing a bunch of it, and it still looks really good if you just like pull it back a little bit and those little details aren't so noticeable. Like so many of my cards, this has never been printed with like extended art. All right, my Bark Form Harvester, this one has a kind of a sad story. So right under the B there, the arc, what happened is this card got stuck to my computer monitor like this. Yeah, it was on my computer monitor. Like the static was making it so like I couldn't grab it like this, and I didn't want to mess the card up. So what I did is I used some painter's tape, and I went to like, this would have been smart to stick it and then pull it off with the tape off of the monitor. But I put the tape up here and it pulled the bit of paint off, unfortunately. So I'm just waiting until I do a kind of altar that's kind of the same colors, and then I'll just add some back in there and fix that up. I think that I did a good job on this little plant here. The flavor text says, the farmer's hide when it runs out of potatoes to harvest. So this makes me think that these are potatoes, but even the original art, maybe it's because of the scaling or something, but they don't quite look like potatoes to me. But I just tried to match what I did with the original art best as I could. Put a whole bunch of like roots and like dirt down here at the bottom. I just need to fix that little bit there, and then I'll be very happy with it once again. This Dread Return, I think this was maybe the first one I uploaded to YouTube, right? I have this thing with this green fog effect. I love it too much is the problem. This card, I went a little too crazy on this green effect. You see in the original art, like very quickly, these dark rocks are kind of in the foreground and they're blocking kind of this light from escaping the pit. I just got a little crazy with this green seeping out. I like it a lot, right? And then, like I said, this is when I was doing a lot of black cards, so you fade to black and it looks good, but it doesn't really develop your skills that much. So I would advise trying to find cards if you're practicing and not relying on that like fade to black. Anyways, my colors weren't perfect. I see a little bit of a line here, right? This is another card that I varnished and it looks a lot better after varnishing. I was like 80% proud of this before, but after the varnish, maybe like 85 or something. Like I said, I can still see a line on this side a little bit, and I just went a little too crazy with this green mist. one of my most viewed speed paints on YouTube. I mean, it's badass. We've covered up a lot of the box, the nameplate up here. I think because it was such a big transformation, it made this card very interesting to watch. I kind of did the thing where I fade to black down here. It was kind of justified because of this big billowing smoke. Like I said, this was probably because it was a crutch at the time for me. There is a bit of a mix match with the colors going from the original art. Mine are a little bit gray and washed out. I think part of that is because he's casting all this light, this reddish light. I think part of that is that's why like the bricks have kind of like a pink color to them. So I was trying to like fade them into normal color as they get farther away from this main central figure. However, I think I could have like transitioned it like more around his shape, and I could have made it look a lot better. People really love this one. I put in the thumbnail more fire, and then I only added a little bit more fire. I think I could have went like crazy with this one. It's just a common, it's a cheap card. I could have went crazy, and if, you know, I aimed a little too high, then I could just try again. We're matching kind of like a very realistic looking hand, right? A very realistic looking foreground, believable shadows and believable highlights in here. This blade, if you watch the video, I threw this blade up in like 2 seconds. I was like, holy shit, that really came together. It looks a bit funny. This is like a strange sword shape. Like, I don't think you really see swords this shape. Like, if you look, you got the handle, and then it's like curving almost. It's a very strange shape. So sometimes if I look at this blade too much, I'll start not liking it. But I just gotta remember, this whole sword is kind of wacky, to be honest. I was happy with this vambrace I did. Even when you get a little closer, it still looks good. This background of Simic Charm, it's in my wheelhouse. It's these like wispy greens and blues, and I just like doing like stuff like that where you just gotta put the colors in the right place and then just make them look interesting, and you've done a good job. I was happy with this work, and I definitely learned some stuff and like really reiterated on this to make it, you know, look right. Galvanic Blast. This one is really cool. I've really found that these kind of painterly backgrounds is where my wheelhouse is. I'm very confident in just kind of like putting the colors in the right spot, giving them some highlights, giving them some darkness, and I usually always end up matching well and really getting there, right? This one I'm mostly happy about. The only things I don't like is this. I did this big landmass. I saw someone else do an altar spell pierce where this was all water, and kind of this merfolk was just kind of coming out of the water, like in the middle of the ocean, deflecting this blast, and it was really cool. This looked very much like land to me in the original art here, so I just extended that land, and it looks a little bit sloppy near the bottom here. But what I'm really happy with was kind of the rocky outcropping I did over here, and then this spell blast. It looks so cool up in this top right. What I did is I painted it all, and my lines looked a little stiff, a little rigid, and I took a Q-tip with a little bit of soapy water, and I just smudged it a bit, and it just blended everything really cool. It gave it this dissipating effect that was really nice. It's a cool technique, but it's like really risky because it could just like take all the paint right off, right? It's kind of a fun use of technique, and I did it right at the very end. It's like so nerve-wracking, but it just turned out the way I had envisioned it, really. This Thoughtcast, this is a pretty recent upload. This one, I definitely took it more slowly. I definitely planned things out a bit more, underlaid a lot of like white under these like tendrils, these tentacles, because I knew I'd be working with this like really light pink, these light blues in here. So I definitely blocked that one out a bit more. Up here, I knew that I was going to continue this like big white dome or sphere, whatever's happening. I painted in these blues, and then I washed them over with white a couple times to get that and match that light blue in there. And then I kind of just elongated this console here, and then I put in all these like dots, like they're rivets or something. I don't know. I just thought it gave it some texture, and it stopped it from being boring. Here we got the Haunt of the Dead Marshes. Working with these blues, it's just beautiful. This is another one that has varnish on it at this point, a matte spray. Before the varnish, I could see like a bit more of this like edging over here, right? I can still see it faintly, but the varnish definitely really helped it kind of blend in with the original art. I really liked working on this one. Something about the blues, you don't have to worry so much about the color mixing. I kind of like extended this wispy hair a little bit. I want to add in another one of these little flames, maybe like right up here, because this space is a little empty, but I was just having trouble mixing that color. The sword extension, I don't know what it is about these swords, but like for some reason it seems very easy to just extend these straight lines, you know, give it a bit of highlight and like boom, it looks pretty good. This one, like just the original art is so good. It's so good. Look at the way this elf like pops out of the background. And when I just added more to that background, it really just kept popping out. It's really cool. The one thing I definitely learned from this is like you got to do like a strong like white undercoat. It takes so many layers to cover stuff up, and that's why this line is here, because the yellow paint is just not strong. So you have to do a lot of layers. Also on this side, there's a little bit of like lightness here. I was trying to go for like a bunch of roots over here, but sometimes with these like little space, it's like when you take a photograph and there's like a tree behind someone's head and it looks like it's growing out of the head. Sometimes with these little spaces, it looks like you're being too cutesy with like the text box. This is the only white card that I've altered so far. This is an Oblivion ring. The original art is just gorgeous. Look at that. I just extended this tree here. I extended down here with these trees and over here. In the original video, my blacks will look like they really stick out from the original printing. I think it was because my lighting was a bit off. But this is another card that now has varnish on it. So these blacks, they just blend in with the blacks on the card now, right? That's the thing going full black with the paints. The paints are matte, so a matte black is always going to look very different than like a glossy black that's printed on the card. The trees looked like they really stuck out in the video, but now that it's varnished, they blend like right in and it looks so good now. These clouds, these wispy yellow clouds, they're just gorgeous as well. I was so happy to work on this card. The edges were pretty beat up. I wanted to fix this one up. My clouds are a little bit cartoony on this one. You know, Vault of Whispers, all it does is tap for a black, so I know that. I thought this was a great candidate for something to go full art, because it's very simple. There's not much to memorize. I left artifact land here, so if someone's looking at my board with, you know, artifact removal, I'm not trying to hide it. Right there, it says artifact land. You can blow it up if you want to, right? This kind of rib cage in the foreground. I feel like I could have filled this space up with more stuff, but I kind of like it. Like this mist is like so thick and elevated here that it's like hiding the kind of the stuff below. But then I have this big rib cage sticking out. It's casting its shadow. And then this like line of like this mist is like trailing over it and causing like almost like a jet stream. Overall, I'm really happy. Like I said, my clouds are a little bit cartoony, but full arts are, I would not say full arts are my specialty. So when I do a full art and it turns out like good or I'm happy with it, that's always a win for me. And we take those. Here we're getting into like a lot of cards that they're like my first ones. So I don't have videos of these cards. These were a while ago. So what is this card? I think this is Hedron Scrabbler. The original art is pretty much just this little guy. The land he's on there. And I think there's like an obelisk in the original art. But I know I added like these kind of like rune looking carvings into it. I definitely added these in the back. And kind of this like cliff face here. I think I just didn't know what to do with the land, so I added a big cliff face. And I made this big hedron in the front. I think this like glow is like a little bit sloppy. Back then I was underestimating how many layers it took to make things look good. And I was worried if I just kept doing things, I would end up screwing it up. My one thing I really don't like about this card is like these lines. They're so crisp, but that's because I actually did these ones with Sharpie on the outside of the hedron here. So I just used a Sharpie to put those in, and like you can tell it looks like Sharpie. It really does, and it looks cartoony. It's nice because it goes down like super opaque, and you know, you don't need layers. You just Sharpie it once and boom, you got this crazy hard edge. But it just doesn't fit with the rest of the card. But this is just, a 1/1 construct token is what I use it for in my deck. It's a 1/1 construct token. This is just another Hedron Scrabbler, and I've kind of just put him chilling in the galaxy here. He's just kind of like floating around. I did some speckling with the brush, and I speckled it, and I ended up getting this like long line by accident. I think I was using a liner, a very long brush, and I got this like long line, so I just ended up turning it into almost like a shooting star. I think it looks pretty cool, and it's something that, if I was in complete control of the speckling, it probably wouldn't have happened. So, it was a Bob Ross, a happy little accident, right? This Hedron Scrabbler, he's just a cutie pie, and he's floating out here in space. I think it's lovely. This was before I was making videos too. This one was so conflicting for me because I think I did a great job matching the colors all up in here on the edges. The idea is really cool. This is a great card for having this like really moody shadow blocking out the nameplate completely. My grain is like pretty good. This foreground grain is like not all reddish, orangish, moody like the other ones, but it helps differentiate it. I just don't like what I did with the outline here. I was finding it very difficult. I think I was using some not so fine brushes at this point, and I just could not get those like nice edges. I'm just not in love with this card. Maybe what I should do is just put black all over this symbol, but I don't know. It doesn't seem right as a plains to have like a black symbol. I don't know. Something has to happen with this one, and I haven't figured out what it is yet. Another option is if I did a foil peel of a plains, and I just took the symbol and I blacked out these red edges so they don't show up, and I put the foil peel symbol right there. I think that might do it. I think that might be a cool video as I just go back and I fix up some of my altars now that I know more than I used to, right? It's about equal in complexity to the plains. The forest symbol is quite easy, and the island symbol is so simple, but the mountains and the plains, those ones are tough. My work around this mountain, I think this is like the best one I've done for maintaining that vibrant name compared to the outside of it. Great job matching the sky, doing this little addition of the mountain here. I think that fits in exceedingly well. All kind of the rest of this mountain here, I think it fits in really well. Then this foreground, I should have pulled up reference pictures or something. I'm not in love with the foreground here, but this mountain is so evocative, and I'm happy with the work I did on the rest of it that I still like this altar. This is another one I don't have video of. This is Witch's Cottage. This one was kind of a struggle for me. I'll just be honest. I could definitely see the lines of the borders here. My general color matching up here was pretty good. Over here, this is where things get like a little bit rough. It's hard to match that like really thin detailed grass. That's where I'm trying to focus, is just getting these little details right. And then I kind of just put in some water, but it definitely doesn't match. Like this water is like photorealistic. It's like beautiful. And then my water is just kind of like blue. Don't get me wrong. This card looks good. Especially like at a distance, it looks great. But when you get close and you start looking at those little details, you can definitely see that like things are off. If I was, to do this one as a commission, I probably would just kept this one here, put it in my deck, and then start over and really do some water studies. Getting those like photorealistic water effects is very difficult, at least for me. This card is striking. This one is very striking. I did that effect where I paint in between these two boxes and where it's got those kind of color differentiations. It looks really good. Looks good. Another like fade to black, right? But we've got this completely black bit in the foreground. It's blocking all the light coming in from this direction. So it just makes sense that it kind of fades to black. Over on this side, I have a bit of red and it's fading downwards. I added in these clouds around this peak here, and those look pretty good. I'm happy with everything about this card. I just really like the way it turned out. I guess I could have had like a little bit of cleaner lines around here, but otherwise, like this is one of my favorites. I think it just looks great. I don't think there's much at the time I could have improved on. I think this was a very good showcase of where I was at when I made this card. Dark Ritual. This one's a tricky one for me because I'm overall not happy with how kind of all this turned out. My kind of initial thought of the card was I have like these original ones here, and then I have like one coming out each side, and I want to line it up so that the text could sit on like, the red, right, instead of this black. So I was thinking like 1, 2, 3, and then like 1, 2, and then like 1, 2. So I think even in the video, you could see I had like 5 or 6 or 7 tendrils instead of all this, right? And I've made it look kind of like fire when the original ones, it doesn't really look like fire. It looks like kind of like red and like fairy dust or something coming in. So I think if I was to do this differently and I tried to dot in a lot of the color, but the problem is with these reds and yellows is I would have to be precise on my dots like time and time again, because the pigment just isn't that strong. If I was to do it again, this effect is more like a speckle, so I would try speckling here. But like I said, with these low pigment colors, I think I just need to get a different reds and yellows, because the ones I have, the pigment density is so low that I have to go over it so many times. I was happy with this cloak. These little symbols are pretty cool, and I match them decently. My skull is decent. The Dark Ritual text is good. All my text kind of pops out really nicely. This background, this is where I'm good at backgrounds, is when it's just putting colors kind of in the right places and making it look moody, but you're not trying to hit any sort of particular effect. I mean, the card looks really striking. You play this at the table and people take notice. I would say I'm probably feeling like a 7 out of 10 with my like happiness at this card, even though this one's gathered a lot of praise from people who watch my videos. I almost didn't upload this one, which is funny because it's one of my best performing videos. This is Snarling Gorehound. I know I had like a trouble with the sky, so I ended up like adding these like clouds, and it really helped kind of match the original art to like the extension is adding these clouds in. Before that, you could definitely tell there is some sort of weird edging issues. This was a thing where if I was to do it again, I'd just be more patient with it. Like I said, working with these reds, you got to do tons of layers, tons. And I added these little like wisp to his angry eyes here. I like this card. I'm happy with how it turned out, and I think it's eye-catching. And it's just another one of these like humble commons that puts in work. It looks absolutely stunning. The artwork is, the original artwork is stunning, and just adding upon that, this is just another one of those ones where I feel like the extension adds to the original artwork instead of like changing the vibe. It just adds to it. I think the rest of these cards are all before I started making videos. This is Aether Spellbomb. This is a beautiful card. I forget who the artist is, unfortunately, but all of his cards, I look at them and I'm like, I need to alter this card. He also did Sword of the Meek, and I need to get my hands on Sword of the Meek because it's got a lot going on, and it'll be beautiful altered, and it doesn't have a full art or extension. But the whole Spellbomb line, I want to do the whole Spellbomb line because they're all just so evocative, like so powerful. So they have these effects to them in the art. The Horizon Spellbomb, where it's sending out like that ripple, and that green is so strong and potent. These blues, oh, if I could just work with blues every day, I would be happy. This one, when I look back at it, I see, my color matching. It didn't work out. At the time, I was using a different brand of paints, like a very inexpensive, like starters brand. I think I literally went to the dollar store and just got like a paint palette they had, and I was like, I'm just going to try it, right? Even though it didn't turn out beautiful, like my thought at the time was, this gas is, expanding outwards and dissipating, so more of the darkness will show through it, right? It does end up being kind of like a line. I could have painted into the card more with these little bit of off color and make it more of a transition. I think that would make it look a bit better. But overall, I think Cushioner Capsule, it's a beautiful card. The art is really evocative. For using dollar store paints at the time, I think this is one of those cards where I looked at it and I was really happy with it. And I said, I think I can do this, right? I think there's something to this. I definitely appreciate this one. And it can be a bit of a challenge because even with better paints, these purples can be hard to reach. This, I believe, was like the second card I ever painted. This is just a swamp that I have, turned into a full art. I think I have like my flowers here, a little funky, and then my leaves became like much larger than the foliage. I added a big kind of like rock here in this corner. I don't think it's like perfection or stunning work, but for my second altar, this was another card that gave me some confidence that I could do this. I am overall happy with this swamp. Ghastly Demise, gorgeous. The whites and the really light blue on this card. It's a black card. It's got, this bird creature and quite a pickle, right? And then all these like tentacles. You can tell I just had a field day extending them and putting them everywhere. They're not tentacles, they're braids, hair, or whatever, right? I just had a field day with them. I see a little bit of a line over here, right? But this side is matched very well. But the problem I have is these feathers. I simply did not block off the space for them. So then when I'm trying to get this like light highlight, it was looking really sloppy. The feathers are kind of dookie, honestly. When you see it at a distance, you don't notice the feathers. You notice everything else going on. It looks good. Recently, I did that commission for a Kefka, where I was painting the big angel wings, and I can say that my feathers have gotten a lot better, right? Even just like planning where things are going to go and working light to dark would have been an immense improvement for this card. I love all the white on the black card. Very striking in the rest of the deck. It looks really cool. I love this card. I think on this last page, you're going to see some ugly, ugly swamps. Let me see. Nope. Wait, yeah, there's going to be another thing before we get to the ugly, ugly swamps. So let's flip over here. This is a mixed bag. I've got some of my oldest work here, and then I've got some of my current work here. So let's look into this. I'm actually going to start a little out of order with this Phyrexian mirror here. So this is another, token. I can't remember what the heck I did it on, some random 1/1 creature. I was going to say, it looks like there's dust in the sleeve, but it's just my painting, unfortunately. It's Mirror Sire, where the original art on Mirror Sire, there's like a little baby mirror kind of curled up in its like stomach cavity. So I kind of took inspiration from that little curled up mirror, and I did like a token as if it was that curled up mirror, right? When I worked on that Simic charm, my shadows got a lot better. My shadowing work here was like pretty rough. The card looks so empty. I added these kind of like, these lines around it just to make it a little bit more interesting. My lettering was really rough here. Overall, I mean, I had an idea to kind of make that mirror token that's in the kind of Mirror Sire and kind of like bring that to life, right? And for a token, this gets played and I'm happy. Well, I wouldn't say I'm like, I love this card, but yeah, it's fun. And then I did another Phyrexian mirror. In this one, it turned out a lot better. I mean, clearly. I put in the lighting, the Phyrexian symbol in this eye, glowing, and that glow is kind of hitting all parts of the Phyrexian mirror. My little feetsies here, they're a little off and they don't have quite the same detail in the shading as the rest of him. I kind of like this kind of Mewtwo-esque, kind of in the test tube, experimental Phyrexian mirror. One of the big things I want to ask is how much practice, how much time do you think between this one and this one there was? That's what I want to ask. Because I see a lot of people in the comments say, I wish I had the talent. I wish I had this. Well, so did I at one point. And like I said, I'm only 100 hours into a 10,000 hour journey. So I've got a lot of ways to go. This is just going to be a token for, I think, a 1/1 snake. I don't know, because I don't even know if I have anything in my decks that makes a 1/1 snake, honestly. I think this, the original card is Rotten Fell Snake, I believe. I think I just made it because the art was like really evocative, and it was like I don't know, like a 3/4 with Death Touch or some, French vanilla creature. And I said, this art is like far too evocative for this to be this vanilla creature, French vanilla creature that's never going to see any play. I think I did a good job fading kind of into the background. As things go in the background, they have less color, right? So these trees in the background going into this mist, I think I did a decent job. Well, these ones on the right, these ones on the left, I could have done better. But adding in the shadow, kind of this effect of the shadow in the water. These are a lot of like effects that I struggle with, is foliage with water. I definitely did better than I expected because this was one of my earlier cards as well. This is the first card I ever painted. So at the time, I definitely was using kind of like those cheap dollar store paints. I think it turned out okay on this card because it's just a lot of fading to black. It's a lot of, like I said, that crutches. And up here, I think at the time, I thought I really ate with this extension. But nowadays, I can see this looks a little sloppy and I could definitely see the whole borderline. I think, the original art of this forest just, it hits so hard that it carries this pretty rudimentary altar to look decent, even though I definitely did not do an amazing job on this piece. I just chose a really evocative, a really good art that I could fade to black in a lot of places and feel like I really ate with this one when, maybe I didn't actually do so good. This was another piece that gave me confidence to go forward, even if I have had a lot to learn, and I still do have a lot to learn. It was a very cool forest. This one, I love the video for this one because I start with just like this huge block of purple over here, and then boop, boop, and it all of a sudden looks like this kind of like rocky mesa, right? I think I could have color matched just a little bit better, but I'm happy with the detail work on kind of this part here. When I did this, I did like speckling, but the problem was I just speckled onto the whole card, like up in here. And then I was like, oh shit. And I had to clean all this up and I had to get a bunch of speckling off the text box. So if you watch the video, there's a part where I flash like another magic card upside down on it. That's because I was protecting it from a bit more speckle. I do wish that instead of speckling like this black, I speckled a bit of like light orange and a bit of dark orange as opposed to this black. If I was to do this over again, I would speckle light orange, dark orange into here. And then I really wish I put something that this zombie was reaching for. Look at him. He's reaching so obviously he's reaching for something. Like I should have put something in here that he's reaching for. My sky was like a little sloppy with these like heavy-handed kind of like lines of dark purple in here. This is another card that has varnish on it, and the varnish really helped make these like extra lines I added in not look really sticky outy, all varnished up. I'm pretty happy with this card. This is another one where I put this line in between the creature type and the text box. Every time I put that line in, I think it looks really good. This island may or may not be posted. I just painted this very recently. It's an island. This one came from the Dragons of Tarkir, I believe. It came from one of the Tarkir sets. I had a little bit of fun with the nameplate up here. I put this castle in front of it, and the castle is like pretty decently far into the background. So it kind of like breaks the foreground, background idea. One thing I thought of was just rounding off the text box with this island and making the island bit really small and then just covering up this whole rest of the text box. This is like a huge waterfall here. The one thing I'm not stoked about is all this empty space. It's just empty space. I wish I put like a rock or something breaking up this waterfall, putting some white in here. The problem is I just didn't pre-plan it. And doing a bunch of white over top a dark color like this, it makes it very difficult. Overall, I was happy with the stuff I had in here, extending down this land mass a bit. I did speckle in this water, but then the speckles dried really translucent, so then I had to go in and try like brush over top the speckles. So I think I'm just not using a good brush for speckling. I'm using my like 2 round when I think I should be using like a flat brush or something. Depending on when I upload this video, this may or may not even be out. Grixis Panorama. Okay, this is pretty recent as well. I knew that I want to extend the art on this because I put this in my Rograk Tormod deck. I know I keep saying it, but it is like my deck that I'm obsessed with right now. And it's never been printed with extended art, so I made it happen down here. The effect is like a little sloppy with these like pink edges on these spikes, but I was having difficulty making the like spikes stick out from the ribs, right? So I ended up doing a little kind of heavy-handed work there. I like these ones kind of here, and I like the way the skull turned out mostly. The teeth are a little right, all over the place. I had a vision for this one. I think it could have been a bit better if I had sketched it out on paper before I just jumped into it. But overall, I'm happy with this Grixis Panorama. I thought this kind of border treatment would be pretty cool. It's kind of like the old, what were they? The Magic Fest promos where it was textless, but it still had like a border in it. I kind of like that style. It's like paying homage to that in a way. It doesn't look exactly the same as that, but I think it's kind of cool to have a border there and then no text. You can tell the difference between this one and Elves of Deep Shadow. I'm working with a lot of that red, that yellow, that orange, those low pigment colors. I'm working with the same paints I did then, but there's no edges at all. I've definitely leveled up my skill since then. I put down a lot of like white layers in order to help get a good base for these low pigment colors. This kind of bit of detail, if you watch the video for this just like flew right in there. I think I just like laid down a bunch of this kind of like slightly purple color on top of this cream color of this ghost, and it kind of like flooded it. I had it really diluted with water, and I just like dabbed it a couple times with a Q-tip, and the colors just went right where I wanted them. I just really lucked out, honestly. I did change between when I filmed the video and now. I did change this. Up here it was like very blue, and I was like, well, it's blue in front of the text box that's blue, but up here it should be more like red, purpley. So I did take a bit of the blue, the vibrancy of the blue out after it went past the nameplate for its smoking head there. I added a bit more onto the tail than the original card has. I just wanted to take it that little bit of extra step. I think if I chilled out with the tail a little bit, this would be another card where I said I really contributed to the original art, but I think I went just a little too far at the tail, whereas I kind of changed the art. I don't have a deck for this yet, but this is a iconic card of Magic's past, and it's never had any full arts, it's never had a secret lair, nothing. So I knew I wanted to transform this card. All right, this is the end. These are my ugly swamps. So if you stuck it out to the end and you're like, wow, I am so jealous, just know that I have had many flops. I've had cards that go into the garbage can. I had an idea with these swamps. I wanted to do like a panorama, and you can see the shaping that I was going for, right? And the thought is, up top, these are, I forget the trees, but these are like these crazy trees that grow these really like roots, and they grow in swamps in the water, and they cast these like crazy shadows on the water. So that's what these are supposed to be. You see, I've got like this like tiger striping here. So I was trying to make like the ripples of the water, and it did not work at all. I originally painted in like reflections of the branches in here, and then I tried to like ripple them with like Q-tip and some water, and I just ended up smudging the whole damn card. So this, frankly, it did not work out at all. And on top of that, because I was doing a panorama and I was trying to make the cards really stick down, I ended up using double-sided tape, and yeah, I just ripped the hell out of the cards. So that is my hideous swamp panorama that did not turn out at all. Kind of a funny way to end the video, but like I said, I'll get people in the comments that say like, I wish I had your talent, I wish I had this, that. Like I've been painting for 100 hours. I'm only 1% into my journey the way I see it, and I have made a lot of mistakes, and I have a lot of stuff that has not been uploaded, right? I have some fails for sure. But that is my binder with all the altars. I also have the Kafka commission I did recently, and because I needed to send that out, I did get some like B-roll footage of that I will voice over. But otherwise, this has been my binder tour. I hope you found it interesting. Seeing some of my old stuff, seeing some of my stuff that's never been recorded, right? This was the second card I ever did. This was very early into my journey. These two, it's basically my attempt at the same thing with some time between them. I would be really interested in people guessing how much time was between this Phyrexian Mirror on the right and this Phyrexian Mirror on the left. This was the first card I ever did. And then there is the cards that only managed to escape the garbage because I knew I wanted to preserve this, if not for a video, for me to just like say, we do make mistakes and it's fine. But that has been my binder tour. And I hope you found this interesting. All right. Cheers.